Welcome, everyone. This is the Caritas Consciousness Project. I'm Gloria Cuedu, your host, and we are this evening hosting Jacqueline Muller. Did I say that right? And Jacqueline is going to be giving us an introductory lecture on compassionate communication, also known as nonviolent communication. She is a certified trainer with the International Center for Nonviolent Communication, co-founder of the Rocky Mountain Compassionate Communication Network, and a restorative justice facilitator. She has worked with a diversity of people and groups in search of authentic expression and honest communication for 24 years. Her multicultural background, as well as her quest for peace and justice, has led her to work on immigration, integration, dialogue projects in Colorado, and youth projects in the Middle East. Her passion for meaning, equanimity, and opportunities for all gives her teaching depth and gusto. Her outreach in offering NVC trainings extends beyond Colorado to Europe and Africa. She facilitates restorative justice circles and supports individuals, couples, family members, and groups in her private practice to create clear, engaged, and heart-based communication. Welcome, Jacqueline, and we will have a few more people joining who are not here yet, but we'll just admit them as they come in.
Okay, thank you, Gloria. And yes, we'll integrate people as they flow in. And if there are some of you who are not attending tonight, but that have registered and are listening to this recording, then welcome to you too.
Yes.
So I'd like to start just with a little check-in, just a few words about ourselves so that we get a little flavor of where we are, what brought us here tonight, and whatever else, what calls you to come here tonight and whatever else you might like to share. So just a brief check-in. So I can begin. So my name is Jacqueline, and I live in Boulder, Colorado. And we've been having smoky day today, but I'm guessing not as bad as in some places, right? Mm-hmm. And I think the first time I met Marshall Rosenberg, who was the founder, and I'll speak a little bit about him later, of NVC, compassionate communication. Sort of those two terms, nonviolent communication, compassionate communication, are sort of used, they're both used for the same thing. So I might shift from one to the other.
Let me interject something real quick.
Yeah.
I'd like everyone to turn off their microphones, just mute their microphones when they're not speaking, so that we don't have any background noise. And Jacqueline would like to wait until the end of her lecture to take questions. But if you have a question during the lecture, you can type it in at any time in the little Q&A, which I'm not seeing. Oh, chat. You can type it into the chat box. The Q&A is when it's a webinar. So you can type it in the chat box so that you don't forget it, okay? So thank you. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Gloria.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, I met Marshall in 2007. That's when I did my first long training with him. And I think, yeah, it just sort of opened up a door for me into a framework of thinking, of expressing myself, of looking at the world and people in a way that was very different than what I was doing up to then. So yeah, that's what got me excited, and eventually I decided to become a trainer and spent about 5 years training to be a certified trainer. So I'm here tonight for that reason. And I love sharing this work with people. I love seeing the quality of transformation and connection that happens in people's life when they stick with it. So I'm going to introduce to you this evening, it's going to be like a taste. Now, both you, Kathy and Kelsey, are going to take the 4 Saturdays, but there are some people that had registered just for tonight who maybe were not quite sure if they wanted to take the 4 Saturdays. So for those of you who are just coming for this evening, this is like a little taste of what NVC, Compassionate Communication, can do. Okay, so I'm going to just pass it on to someone for check-in, and then when you're done, you can pass it on. Okay, we got.
Well, I'm Kathy, and I live in Iowa now. For 30 years in Boulder County, but I have a good friend here who's into all kinds of interesting, fun things, and she introduced me to NVC. And I just thought that sounded like the greatest thing. And then when your class came on board, I knew I wanted to do it. I've read a little bit about a couple of other related techniques or something, but I'm really thinking that this is what we need with how polarized everyone is in the country. We have got to learn to talk together effectively, so that we can share from the heart and we can hear from the heart and come up with, it's not either or, it's, some new programs or ways of thinking, ways of doing things that benefit everyone. And it just seems like NVC is a great way to do that.
Thank you, Kathy. Kathy, do you want to call on someone else?
How about Kelsey?
You have to unmute yourself, Kelsey. Gloria, you're muted.
So, okay, why did I take the course, or what was my reason? Like, why was I?
Where you are, first of all, location-wise, because we're not necessarily all in the same state.
No. Well, right now I'm in California. I grew up in Colorado, lived in California. I've been and then I've been traveling around quite a bit. So, but I wanted to take the course. I watched some like YouTube videos on Marshall Rosenberg. I watched like videos, and I always was fascinated by that. And I have come to the realization, due to an intimate relationship, that I really lack communication skills. I like really do not have communication skills that actually bring out what I want to say or what I want to feel, what I feel in conflict, especially. It's like it's like I shut down, and I really would like to learn how to communicate like what my real feelings are in any situation, and be able to have dialogue with others, as opposed to creating more conflict or not really having resolution or repressing things that just for sake of making peace. So I was reminded recently about nonviolent, like they were calling it nonviolent communication. And so I thought this is a really good opportunity for me to do it. I just went online and chose this because it was resonated and worked the time and everything. So happy to really, really excited to be here.
Yeah, glad that you're here, Kelsey. Thank you. Do you want to call on somebody?
Sure. How about Lee? Hi, Lee.
So Lee, we're just doing a check-in. Welcome to both you and Julie. And we're doing a little check-in, just saying where you are located and what called you to be here tonight.
So hi, I'm Lee. I live in Lafayette, and I've been coming to various Caritas activities and meetings for years, and I just enjoy continued learning. I have some background. I've done some NVC type, just talk. Been part of some talks. Nothing too extensive, but I know that You come across these different systems or things that are just like, that's just all good, like dialectical behavior therapy, DBT and CBT, cognitive behavior therapy. Like the skills in those are just like brilliant. You probably use them in nonviolent communication. And anyway, just in what I know of NVC, if that's what you're calling it, it's just all good. It's just this huge wealth of knowledge that, I understand once I organize myself a little better, it'll still take me years to learn. I mean, I've been on the website and there's so much to learn and it's all just awesome. And it feels, so I'm also like others I'm hearing just love this, this information. And I think that, it'd be great if everyone can speak this way, but right now, be the change you want to see in the world. At least if I can speak, skillfully and without triggering people and where people feel heard and all of this, that'll at least do something. And maybe by example, others will somehow, be interested.
Thank you, Lee, and enjoy your enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So, Julie.
You need to unmute.
Hi, everybody. I'm Julie. I'm in Fort Collins. And I have always wanted to learn more about this whole process. So it never really was, I was never able to do it until Jacqueline started doing it online during COVID last summer and spring. And I just love what I've done with her so far, a couple workshops, and I just want to be a better communicator. So.
Thank you. And Gloria, you want to say something about yourself just because not everybody was here?
Well, I'm director of the Caritas Consciousness Project, and we are a nonprofit focusing on promoting events, classes, lectures, workshops, study groups, all designed to,
Did I do that already? Sorry.
What happened? What was that? Oh, you were sharing your screen.
Oh, I didn't know that you'd all see it before I shared it, so sorry.
All of our events and activities are in the service of promoting the evolution of consciousness, which I think is of utmost importance. And this is tonight's lecture, and the ensuing workshops are going to be case in point. Everything we do, and this is certainly an example of something that enhances the evolution of consciousness and, compassion and shifting from, fear to love, as the Course in Miracles likes to say, which is also a class that we teach. So that's basically who we are. We're a nonprofit. We are member driven. And I welcome all of you, and I'm looking forward to your presentation, Jacqueline.
Okay, thank you, Gloria. Yeah, Gloria and I sort of, in last spring, we decided to put something together. So here we are, yeah. So I'd like to first say, I'm not going to give you a lecture because I'd like to just have people have the experience of what NVC can bring. And so I will speak a little bit, and then I'm going to invite you into some activities. So I'd like to start with the first activity. So I'm going to get I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. So I'd like us to respond. Wait. Can you all see the screen? You have to unmute yourselves. I can't hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'd like to invite you to ponder this, and I'm just going to leave this for a moment, then I'm going to come back because I can't see everybody when I screen share. I want to live in a world where. So I'd like us to take a moment just to think about what kind of world do you want to live in? So you could maybe, I don't know if you have something to write, but you could just take a moment to fill out, and you could fill it out with more than one thing. I want to live in a world where there's something. I want to live in a world where there is something else. Just maybe 3 or 4. And then I'd like us to share a little bit what we came up with. Any questions about that? No, okay. Okay, so I'm going to stop the share because I want to see all of your faces. Okay, so who would like to share what they wrote? And remember to unmute yourself.
I don't know how long an answer you're looking for, but I
No, quick, just 4 or 5 words.
Okay.
Don't write an essay.
Okay.
Not tonight, not tonight.
I did.
I just want you to fill out, like, I want to live in a world where, and just give me 1 or 2 words that are important to you.
Where compassion, love, and understanding prevail.
Okay, beautiful.
I want to live in a world where people live from love rather than fear.
Thank you.
I want to live in a world that is heart-centered, which is just another way of saying some things like Kathy just said.
Thank you.
Where there's equity between all people.
Where there's more love and understanding for each other and for the planet we live on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say where there's more care and more justice. So I heard compassion, love versus fear, heart-centered, equity between people, more love and understanding, justice and peace, care. So I'm wondering, does anybody not connect to any of these, we'll call them values right now? Yeah. We all connect with that, right? Maybe you chose 1 or 2 of them tonight, right now. But when I say peace or justice, you can relate to that too. Yeah. So these are what we call universal human needs. And NVC, or compassionate communication, is a consciousness and uses a language that are rooted in the awareness of these universal human needs, and asks us to put awareness to how we choose the language that we use to connect to ourselves and to others. And we use language to meet our needs. So when we're connecting with someone, when we're talking to ourselves, we are trying to meet some needs. And I'll explain that a little bit more for you afterwards. But the language we use in NVC is what we call a process language. It's a language that's alive, that's in movement, that's not versus being static. So an example of static language might be in when we're communicating, you are always lazy. Do you see how that's static? There's no room for change in there. There's that always, there's that judgment, lazy. So in nonviolent communication, we might say, hey, I noticed 3 times this week that you left the dishes in the sink. Do you get a sense of how that's different than saying someone you're always lazy? First of all, it's not judging someone, it's more observing something that happened. And so in nonviolent communication, we propose a kind of model that invites us to express ourselves honestly and to listen empathically. So there's these 2 movements. And Marshall used to love to speak about giving and receiving. Giving and receiving. So I'll take a little detour here to speak a little bit about Marshall Rosenberg and what prompted him to put this body of work together. Now, Marshall grew up in the 30s in Chicago, in Detroit, and his family moved there. His family was a Jewish family, moved there during the race riots. And so it was a very volatile moment in history. And they were in a neighborhood where there were a lot of, I guess, protests and fights, and there was a lot of tension. And as a child, I think he was about 7 or 8, he tells that he started noticing that in this kind of environment that was very, very tense on the outside, he noticed that some people already in his family sort of lost it, you know? They sort of lost their capacity to be human, what he called to be human, because of all that tension. But then he noticed that a few other people, and one of the people that he was very inspired by was his grandmother, how they kept their calm, even though things were rough. And I mean, you know, they were poor, they didn't have much food on the table, and so that sort of got him interested in human behavior. And actually, he became a psychologist. He became a clinical psychologist and thought that through psychology, he could really help people and continue to study and explore this domain of the human behavior. Well, he got pretty discouraged because he found out in psychology, and he was in clinical psychology, that mostly what they were doing at that time was labeling people. And once people were labeled, there was actually no room for anything else to be there except their label, that they were looked at through this label, through the lens of the label. So after a few years, he dropped his practice of being a clinical psychologist and started studying with some people at the time, Carl Rogers and all these people in the 60s that were sort of breaking the pattern of psychology and looking at human behavior. And he came up with this model over many, many years. He didn't invent anything new, but he put together this body of work that we call compassionate communication, nonviolent communication. So what it does, it allows us to deepen our understanding of ourselves, our behaviors, and of others, as well as it gives us concrete tools to create those authentic, meaningful dialogues where we hold all needs as important. So what you just came up with, those words that you came up with, they weren't just words. Love is not just a word. Justice is not just a word. It holds an energy in it. It holds a whole experience in it. So when I say love, and you take a moment to feel what love means to you. Why don't you do that? Just take a moment to feel when you say the word love, how it resonates in you, and what is your experience of that word? Yeah. So I'm just curious if maybe one or two of you might like to share what's that like for you to take a moment to actually hold that energy of love. And you'd have to unmute yourself if you wanted to speak.
It's a beautiful little experience. It's like it changes your whole kind of internal vibration to warmth and affection and caring and softness and sweetness.
Oh, thank you for that description, Kathy. Yeah, yeah. So when I speak about love, and I say, well, I just want more love in my life, I'm just connecting with my head to the word. It's a mental connection. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's a mental connection. But when I say, I want love in my life, I'm already going inside and having an experience of what that is, and I'm already feeling the warmth of it. So we use language in NVC that does express our deep longings and needs, and we want to live into those words. So Marshall, he traveled all over the world, over the country and over the world, all over the world, bringing this body of work that kept evolving. And he had the opportunity to train thousands of people. He was pretty audacious. He went into war zones in Africa. He was involved, did some projects in Israel and Palestine, Liberia, in other countries in Africa. And he had this amazing capacity to listen. And in NVC, we're listening, but not to the words. Yes, we listen to the words, but we're listening to what is alive beneath the words. When someone is hurting, or when someone's having a hard time, listening not just to the story that that person might be telling, but what is it that they're really longing for? What is it that might not be happening in their life right now, that there's so much wanting? And being able to really listen for that and to reflect that back to someone is the gift of listening and giving. So it's the giving and the receiving. So we're going to do a little bit of that tonight. Let's see where I am here. Let me just share a screen with you. Let me see if I can do this. Let's see. Okay. So I'll go back to my Zoom. Let's see. No, let me go back. No share. Here we go.
Just click on the green box.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Can you see this now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So as I wrote here, well, why don't one of you read it? I'd love to hear somebody else's voice. Kelsey, would you like to?
Sure. Okay. The purpose of compassionate communication is to create a quality of connection within and between people where everyone's needs matter and people work together to meet needs peacefully.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, when you hear that, what arises for you? Is there, for you, Kelsey, or anybody else? Just sort of curious.
It's what I want. It's what I desire very much. Yes. And it makes me feel like at peace, you know, that the world has the possibility of harmony within it. And that makes me feel even like more love and like hope, you know, and possibility and positivity.
Yes, I'm getting by what you're expressing, Kelsey, is that you really feel it in your body.
I do. I feel it in my body, and I feel the opposite in my body.
Yeah, when that doesn't happen, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we have a real visceral body experience when the possibility of needs being met and connecting with people in that peaceful way to meet needs together. And of course we feel it's more like an expansion. Of course we feel more like a contraction when that doesn't happen, right? When there's conflict, when there's pain. Yeah. Does anybody else want to say anything about this before I move on to the next one?
I think it defines a culture of caring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of the word everyone, which I like there. It's not just me and my preferred friends or family. It's everyone.
Yeah, it's for all people, right? Yeah, it's beautiful, Gloria. Yeah. Yeah, so this is what we're working towards. And I know we're all, as you're here tonight, oh, somebody else came in.
I just admitted them.
So because we're all working towards that, and we might have different approaches to do it, but I'm honored to share with you what I'm passionate about and what has really called me, because I find that in nonviolent communication, what I love is that there's the whole sense of a different kind of consciousness, and we know that we don't live in a world, our everyday world out here on this planet, or at least in this country at this time, is not a place where all needs matter. We don't hold that consciousness, I mean, as a society. And so for me to hold that consciousness and also to have concrete tools on how to engage in conversations, especially when they're challenging, for me really resonated. So I'd like to welcome who came in here.
Lorraine.
Lorraine. I can't see you right now, Lorraine, because we're on the screen share, but welcome. Okay, so let me just give you the next screen. Next page. So this is basically the model. If you want to put it in words, this is the model of NVC. So the heart is the center, and it's where I hold what really matters and what I value. And in terms of the components, if we want, of NVC, that giving and receiving that I was speaking about, there's the part about expressing ourselves honestly. And in NVC, when we do that, we put our attention on 4 components that I'm just going to name right now: observation, feeling, values, needs, and requests. That in some way is the consciousness coming into the toolbox. And then the other side of the giving receiving is the listening empathically. So either I'm expressing myself or I'm receiving your expression, I'm listening. Marshall used to say this thing that I thought was just wonderful. He said, really, when we're speaking, when we're communicating, we're either saying please or thank you. Please, because I want to be heard. Thank you for hearing me. Yeah. Any questions about this so far? No, and I'm gonna stop the share just so I can see everybody again. Okay, okay, Lorraine, we don't see you, but you're on the phone there. Okay. Okay, so I'd like to jump into, let's see. Okay. So first I want to be sure that everybody got the handouts. Is that accurate? Yeah. So in your handouts, there's a sheet, the needs sheet. This is not an extensive. It's not all the needs that exist, but it's sort of the basics. We'll be using this in a few minutes. And then there's feelings when needs are met and feelings when needs are unmet. So in NVC, we try to develop a literacy of feelings so that we sort of connect a little deeper to our inner experience of when something happens. So, you know, they say most of us use about 4 or 5 feeling words. What is it? Mad, sad, glad. I don't know, there's a few more. Angry. So the English language has an amazing amount of beautiful adjectives to describe our feelings. And it's sort of fun to connect a little bit and learn more ways of expressing ourselves. So it's a little bit more nuanced. And we'll be speaking about how feelings and needs are connected, and we'll be doing that mostly on the Saturdays. That the course is going to continue on. But for this evening, I'd like you to take your handout that's called Appreciation and Celebration. So I'd like to invite us this evening to do an activity based on the NVC Compassionate Communication Framework in learning how we, in this framework, express gratitude, appreciation. So the first sheet you've got here just sort of explains the model that we're going to be using. And then the second sheet is actually the activity sheet. So I'll let you read the other parts of this. I don't want to spend our time here together, but what I would like to just underline is one in NVC, when we express appreciation differently than what we mostly do in our culture. So if I've done, like if I'm teaching a class and people have enjoyed it, people might say, wow, that was a great class. Oh yeah, really enjoyed it. And then that's it. And so, yeah, it feels good to receive that kind of feedback. And yet it doesn't tell me what it is that I did or said that contributed to feeding you. What was it? What was it specifically that I said or did? And what feelings came up for you when you received that? And what needs of yours were met or fulfilled? So that's sort of the model we use. So that's got the ABC on this page. Do you all see it? So we're going to use that model in this activity we're going to do, okay? So I was thinking of putting us in little groups, but I think because we're a small number of people, it's actually sort of nice to stay in the big group, the bigger group. So you might want to, yeah, if you have a pen or pencil or something, you can write directly on this sheet of paper. But I'm just going to read the purpose of the exercise. To be aware of how gratitude supports the flow of life between us and to be conscious of the many things that go on inside of us that keep us from expressing gratitude when it is needed to maintain our energy for living a life of compassion. So this is sort of supporting that idea of giving and receiving. And I just love to see sort of the infinity sign. It's sort of like our nature is to give. Our nature as humans is to give when we can do it from a place of choice and freedom. And I think, does anybody here not enjoy giving when you can do that from a place of freedom and choice? I see smiles, so I'm guessing that it is something that you do connect with. Okay, so the first part of the activity, think of a situation where you would have loved to receive gratitude for something you contributed to someone's well-being and didn't receive it. So just think of a situation, it could be a very simple something that you did that contributed to somebody's well-being, and you would have just so enjoyed receiving some acknowledgement, some gratitude for that. So let me know when you've found something. You can maybe just put your finger up or something so I know when to move on. You don't need to necessarily write that down if you don't want to, but just remember what it is. Okay, Lee, you've got it. I want to check with Lorraine. Lorraine, do you have the handout?
So I'm driving, so I can't do handouts right now.
Oh, okay. Okay, well then you get to listen.
I am listening. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, does everybody have a situation? Julie, you got one?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's go to A. What would it have sounded like had the person known how to express gratitude in compassionate communication consciousness? So what I'd like you to do is to take that first sheet with the 3 steps. Specifically, what is it that you said or did? So if this person could express gratitude, so you're gonna imagine what they might have said, what they could have said. So what is it specifically that you could have said? So you're being that person who received that contribution. So you're going to tell yourself, what is it that you said or did? As the person who received it, how did it feel to receive it? And what need of yours might be met? So we're sort of we're putting ourselves in somebody else's shoes and we're imagining. What is it that you would have liked to hear from that person? Are there any questions about those 3 steps?
I just like the conversation, Jacqueline. And there's a lot to connection. For me, there's a lot to connection, and it involves, openness and feeling and honesty and vulnerability. And we have so much of that I don't know, maybe it's inconvenient or it's overwhelming or it's, unfamiliar. And so, I don't know, I'm just talking off the top of my head, but for me, as soon as I open the door into any kind of conversation, there's a big world that it just kind of goes into. That's because I'm fairly empathic and intuitive and feeling oriented. that it's just immediately, there's just a lot there for me.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that, Lee. And can you think of a situation though where maybe you did something for someone that that just you contributed? It would just sort of been lovely to hear back how that had contributed to them.
Yeah, I think in general, I'm a giver, and I'm in the position to give. For example, I have a house where sometimes I let people stay. I don't necessarily charge them money or very little. I also do a lot for people. I give food from my garden, or I do things for people. I have skills. Lots of people.
Those are perfect examples, Lee. So you're a giver, and this is about receiving right now. This is about you receiving back.
Yeah.
So maybe you could take one of those examples, like you let people stay, like you think of a specific person that you've let them stay in your house.
Yes.
If they were to express gratitude to you using this model, what would it sound like? That's what I'm asking you all to fill out right now.
I'm going to answer.
Well, hold on just a second, because people might not have finished, and they might need just a little quiet to be able to do that.
Okay.
So has everybody completed that, or do you need a little bit more time?
I can't think of it. I'm not coming up with anything, any situation in which I did something for someone else and did not get appreciation back. I'm sure it's happened.
Oh, really?
I guess I just don't.
So I'm not saying that people haven't given you appreciation, because someone that says, "Hey, Jacqueline, you're a great teacher,"
Mhm.
that is appreciation. And
there's all kinds of situations where I've gotten appreciation.
right. But we're looking at a specific way of expressing the appreciation. So I'm asking you to fill out 3 different steps. What is it that you did or said? So maybe in Lee's case, because you shared Lee, it could be, I let so-and-so stay in my house for a week, for example. Okay, that would be, if you want, that would be the observation. Now, I'm asking you to put yourself in the shoes of the person who received your contribution. So Kelsey, have you come up with something? Maybe we could just have people share and see if that gives you an idea of how this works.
Okay, so the situation was when I bought groceries for someone and food and brought them home and would pay for them. And so what I would like to hear from the person that I did that is, I really appreciate you taking the time, energy, and money to buy food to help nourish my well-being.
Yeah. And maybe how they felt, how it impacted their feelings.
Yeah, that it makes them feel, that it made me feel loved, taken care of, made me feel cared for. Yeah.
So the fact that you bought groceries, you took time to go out and get them, you paid them for yourself, I feel just such a sense of being taken care of and loved.
Yeah.
So can you see how that is different than just saying thank you for the groceries?
Yeah.
So when you hear that back, Kelsey, how do you take it in? If I say to you, hey, Kelsey, you know that day when you went and did groceries and you bought them and you brought them to my house, and gosh, I felt so touched by that. And I just felt like my well-being was being taken care of and I could put food on the table. That meant a lot to me. Yeah. So how do you receive something like that?
like graciously. I mean, that's really beautiful.
It feeds you, right? It feeds
Yeah.
you. Again, when we take in the appreciation, not at the word level, but at the experience level, we really let it come inside of us. And someone reveals to us really how it impacted them. Then there's that movement of giving and receiving. And my guess is that you feel like you've been given to when you hear something like that.
Yes, I feel like I've been given to, and that I was seen for, because usually if I'm doing that, I'm thinking of the other person, not just myself.
So this is not about, oh, I do things because I want people to acknowledge it, because I want to be appreciated. No, this is not what we're talking about here. This is about someone giving back what it meant to them. It's like food. It nourishes us to receive back. Lee.
For me, it feels like I feel more in relationship with. That's what the appreciation or the coming back. I'm not giving because I want someone to appreciate me. I'm giving because I care. And when someone else says, I feel you're caring, now there's like this reciprocal, like I'm in relationship with.
Yeah.
Simple like that.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is that when we express it from that place, it allows us to go inside and connect to ourselves when someone contributes to us. Yeah. Does anybody else want to share? Kathy or Julie? And if not, that's okay, because we're going to do some more.
Yeah, I'm just noticing a situation where I was a little resentful. I mean, most of the time, like I just planted a tree for my nephew who died last year, and there was so much appreciation, almost too much appreciation. But I'm thinking of the times where I wasn't appreciated, and it's kind of taking me into a victim. That's why I'm not answering much. It's taking me into a victim place, and I'm like, I don't want to go there, really. So that's why I'm so quiet. I feel what you're trying to get out of us, but
Yeah.
but yes, it felt great that it helped my sister when I planted that tree and we're appreciated for it.
Yeah, and Julie, thank you for saying that, because of course,
I think I'm
bring up a lot of feelings when maybe we have really put ourselves out and we weren't seen or heard. I mean, to be seen and heard is one of our essential needs.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that in the class on Saturday, because that's sort of going a little bit in another sort of a deeper direction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time to hold for tonight, but thank you for putting that out. Okay, let's look at the second one. So think of someone you would like to be sure to express some form of appreciation to before they die. So someone in your life that has impacted you, that maybe you didn't get the chance to express your appreciation, or maybe you did, but maybe tonight, with this sort of model of letting people know what it is specifically they did and how you felt receiving that, and what needs of yours. And you can use your handouts on needs and feelings if you'd like to support you in this exercise. So think of someone you would like to be sure to express some appreciation before they die. We say before they die because, we always think we have tomorrow, and we don't know. So using these 3 steps, what is it that they said or did? What feelings arose or arise for you now as you remember that? And what need of yours was met? Yeah, let me know if you need any support.
So I'm looking at where it says 3 steps.
Yeah.
Are those steps that we know?
Yeah, I'm confused.
I don't think we have that sheet that you're holding up. Can you show?
It was in the same email. There were two sheets. There were
Okay,
two
I keep looking at that and I have think of something someone would you like, but it looks like this and then it says 3 steps. I don't have the one with the red on it. So did I not print all of them?
Yeah, maybe not. Can you read the 3 steps here?
Yeah, I have that. Oh, so
Those-
those are the 3 steps. Okay.
3 steps, yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm getting the second and third confused. Okay, so I'm thinking of this woman. So what would I say to them? I'd say this is this woman at church. So she's just so open and warm, and every time you see her, anyway, I said I'm so appreciative of your warm smile and open arms for a hug and cheery voice calling my name whenever you see me. And then I always feel valued and cherished whenever I see you. And I feel enlivened and uplifted. But it seems like when I say I feel valued and cherished, is that a feeling or is that what needs are being met? I guess I'm confusing those.
Oh, that's a beautiful question. Yeah. So I feel, so you said cherished, and what was the other one?
Valued.
Valued. Okay. So this is a little sidestep, but in NVC, the words like cherished, valued, even loved, oh, you can use them. It's not a problem. It's a feeling quality. Sometimes the other feelings that we sometimes use that are on the other spectrum might be like I feel manipulated, I feel abandoned. Those ED words, sometimes they imply that someone is doing something to you. So, and I'll explain that in the course, but in our feelings is I feel joyous when I see you. I feel warm. You said that I feel warm, right? There's something about feeling warm. And so then you would say my need for being seen, being valued, being appreciated are met. My need for appreciation are met. But anyhow, for tonight, it doesn't really matter. I don't want to get too sticky on how we use words. What's mostly important is what we connect to and what it means to us. When we're in difficult situations and in conflicts, when you say to someone, you manipulated me, it's not a feeling, it's a thought.
Mm-hmm.
It means you did manipulate me. So it's me saying to myself, you did manipulate myself. A feeling for expressing something like I feel manipulated might be I feel lost, I feel lonely, I feel, it would be more something like that, or I might feel angry. I don't know if that helps at all, Kathy, right now.
Okay.
But it's when we're using what we call the positive feeling words, just like whatever flows out.
And would you actually tell her my need for being appreciated and seen are met? Would you actually say those things?
Well, no. This is a toolbox. So these are words that we use when we're learning where to put our attention.
Okay.
But in my natural language, I would probably say, if it was you, I'd say, hey, Kathy, when I see you and you've got your big warm smile and you hug me and take me in your arms, I just feel so alive and so warm inside. And I just feel like just so much gratitude to see you and to be around you. It just feels so warm and fuzzy and wonderful. That's the way I would probably say it, just in normal language. But to learn where to put our attention in NVC, we sort of break it down as a practice.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else want to give it a try? Lee, did you have something?
Yeah, I could share. So one of the people that I have some strong feelings for at this time, and it just thought I'd just use this person, is my mother, who's caretaking my father. They live in Miami, and I visit them on and off to help them. I don't do that much, but I do some. And when I go, my mother, she's very depleted. She's her life right now is just about is a lot of giving. My father speaks in his sleep. She doesn't even get to sleep a lot. She's totally a saint right now in her life. And when I'm with her, and when anyone's with her, I think they can feel that. And all that's kind of coming out of her. Like, it's just love for family.
So how would you express that gratitude to her?
Okay, so that's sort of the backdrop.
Okay, gotcha.
So I go visit, and sometimes it's not so much what is said, is more what is done. It's sort of implied. There's some words, but you just feel it in everything that's happening. It's just the reality. And she's so surrendered to giving and caring for her husband and caring for everyone. So what's shared specifically is just sort of everyday acts of caring, cooking, sometimes cleaning or washing clothes, or, we all try to do things, but she does a lot. She just does. So that's specifically what's happening. So how I feel when I hear whatever words, we have moments of, we have our little talks. And what I hear is, or how I feel when I hear, when we talk, or I'm a part of this, is I feel real love. I don't know, it's just kind of just real straightforward in this conversation right now. It's just, it is what it is. We have that saying in our family, is. Yes, it is. My father's lost his memory, and it's hard. So the need that's met to go to the C, is just to really feel in connection. That's a big word for me. It comes up a lot, to feel in relationship with, or connection. And so the feeling is love, but the deep need is to feel that love in relationship. I call that connection.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so Lee, I'm wondering, you talk about your need for the love and for that connection, sort of the sense of family and the holding that she's doing. And I'm wondering if you don't live there, right? You said you go there to Florida. So I'm wondering if also there's not a sense also for you of reassurance, or of being able to maybe find a sense of peace because you know that your father is cared for so well?
Well, that's not the dominant thing.
That's not the dominant thing. Okay.
My father's like a walking miracle. But the thing that, I just want to say it, just even maybe it's for myself, I'm just saying it, is that, in our family, we've had our challenges. And, that's kind of maybe true for a lot of people. But just to kind of really come back to something as strong as like that there's love. It's just a very, I don't know, it doesn't get any more real or really impact, like strong feeling as that.
Yeah.
And for us to really acknowledge that it's just vulnerable, and everyone and whoever's wanting to allow themselves to feel, it brings tears to everyone's eyes in our family. It's just like right under the surface, all that feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why.
That's beautiful that you can all share that.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah, and are you able to actually say that to your mother? Yeah.
Every time we talk on the phone, right? So there's like, I love you, love you. But when you're in person and you're feeling, it's just more palpable. It's just more direct. There's more of a, it's really there.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And when we appreciate something that someone has offered us, whether it's not necessarily that it's something directly to you, but you benefit from it, you're in the environment like you were describing, Lee, and there's just this sense of deep love and care in that environment. And it's like when you reflect that back to someone, it's like giving them back a gift. And, you know, caregivers do get depleted. They do. And so this is also a way of saying, I see you, I hear you, what you're doing has an impact on all of us. And I want you to know that. Yeah.
Yeah, we do share that. And just to really just, you know, it brings tears to my eyes, but just to feel the love that's just so real, it's just really touching. Thanks for letting me share that with the group. I mean,
Thank you for sharing that. It is so, I'm just having images of your family and your mother and your father, and just the warmth around that. And
yeah, it's pretty good. Thank you. I mean, we'll talk with others, but at a certain point, I have a picture that I took of her recently, and I'll show it to everyone just for the fun of it.
Okay. So receiving sort of that confirmation that our intention to contribute, to enrich another person's life brings joy and connects us to that sort of sense of empowerment that I can actually impact people's lives. Oh, sweet. It was quick, but I saw it quickly. Oh, what's her name?
Edith.
Oh, bless her heart. Yeah.
Oh, you're going to love something. So I'll share one. She's done some sculpture, and a lot of her sculptures, if you just want to, guys, if you all want to just be touched for a moment, she does a lot of feminine sculptures and women with child. So here's one. It's one of her first. She did that.
Oh.
And here's another one. She did that.
Oh, wow.
That's rock.
Well, that's quite the goddess.
That's a rock.
Oh, wow. That's a rock. Wow. Oh, I'm impressed. Edith.
Oh, it's real. I mean, so her heart's in everything, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing, Lee.
Thank you for sharing, Lee. Beautiful.
So the fact that we share this giving and receiving, to me at least, makes me want to stay in that flow, in that beautiful flow of letting someone know how they impact me and how much it touches me. And when I give, that I can know that it's touched someone. It's just such a beautiful sharing that we can do. And we reveal ourselves. We become vulnerable. We open ourselves up, and it feeds us. It feeds us to know, rather than just when we stay at the level of words of like, yeah, you're great, thanks, good job. Yeah, it's a different quality of connection. Yeah.
What was that word you shared? Yeah, there's alive and then there's static, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for saying that. So a process language versus a static language.
Yeah, so it's much more process oriented.
It's much more alive. I mean, you know, we feel more alive when we express ourselves that way and when we receive that kind of communication. So this gives you a little sense of some of the areas that we develop in NVC. Now, of course, when we're in difficult conversations, which is what most people want to learn about, then we also connect to that aliveness in us, and we make choices on where we put our attention. So again, there can be that static language. I'm just going to talk a tiny bit about it because we'll be doing that more tomorrow morning. You make me feel angry. Yeah, I'm upset with someone. You make me feel angry. And it always happens. So how is someone going to receive that kind of communication? So if you receive that, what bodily, if you check with your body, how are you feeling right now? Are you wanting to talk to me? Are you wanting to have a conversation?
Defensive.
Glory.
I want to head for the hills.
You want to run for the hills. You're right. Kathy, you were saying? Kathy, did you say something? I caught a few words there, but.
I said you'd be defensive.
Yeah.
You sit down, you wouldn't want to listen anymore. You're angry and you're being attacked.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. But you know how often that happens in conversations where people are upset with each other? And so there's the connection breaks and we go into disconnection. When we're so in our own bubble and triggered by feelings that come up, which I'm not saying are good or bad, it's just what happens, then we can't see the other person in that vision of consciousness that we all have needs that matter, and that if we're going to be able to work through something difficult, we want to learn how to listen to our own needs first, to be able to then listen to other people's needs. And if we're just not able, and we're putting up walls or throwing out words that are hurtful, then it escalates, and that's how wars start. And we have our mini versions of that in our relationships. Yeah. So learning how to express ourselves honestly and authentically with self-responsibility, taking responsibility for our experience and being able to share that with someone authentically, coming out of the blame, you're no good, I'm good, that kind of framework, the black and white, the I'm right, you're wrong. I mean, you know, we see a lot of that now on our political scene. You're right, I'm wrong, and I'm not going to budge, and I'm not going to listen, and I'm not going to do anything, you know. When someone says something, sometimes people do say things that bring up pain for us. And we want to acknowledge that, but how are we going to respond to that person? How are we going to speak to that person so that we have chances that they're going to hear us? Well, it's not by throwing out another attack. Yeah, so that's what we're going to sort of explore in these 4 classes that are coming up. So I'm wondering, I've spoken a lot tonight. I'm wondering if you have any questions or comments or something that you'd like to contribute.
Don't be shy now.
So Leah's our encouraging person here.
For me, it's just speaking from the heart. If I focus on my heart, if I know I'm going to have a difficult conversation because there's some kind of conflict or something. And if I can just, what I like to do is hold off saying anything until I know I can speak from the heart. If I do that, it's always good. If I don't do that and I speak from pain or from anger or from my own projection of what they're doing and what they're thinking, it doesn't go well.
Yeah, that's well said, Gloria. Yeah. So at NVC, what we do is we really develop the awareness, especially when we're triggered. Someone says or does something that really throws us off center. Then it's like, okay, what do I do now? How do I come back into connection with myself first, and then how do I re-engage with that person? Because we all get triggered. I mean, there's a few out there, but I think most people I know do get triggered at times, and some more than others.
Everyone does. Everyone does.
Everyone does. I don't know, maybe the Dalai Lama does a pretty good job.
Maybe the Dalai Lama.
But he probably gets triggered too. But I mean, I think we all get triggered. Then what capacity do we have to bring ourselves back? And that's what I love about the NVC work. It really helps us come back into aliveness with ourselves. And like you were saying, Gloria, in that place of the heart, grounded, where I really can take responsibility for what's going on for me when I get triggered. Because if I respond to a situation where someone says something or does something that triggers me, and I respond from that trigger place, which, as you were saying, is like from the place of pain, from the place of disconnect, then it's just going to create more conflict. Yeah. So we're trying to find ways to express ourselves where there's chances that we're going to be heard and our needs are going to be met. Marshall would say that all our actions are attempts to meet needs. So whatever we do, whatever we say, we're trying to meet some kind of deep need or longing or value we have. And a lot of times when people do and say things, they are not able to meet those needs. I worked in the jail for 4.5 years, and I worked with a lot of guys who did a lot of things to try to meet needs, but they ended up in jail. They didn't get their needs met. And they didn't realize that. Once I was able to share that with them, they had like light bulbs go up in their heads of like, oh, that's why I did that. I wish I hadn't done it. Yeah. So.
Yeah, the Dalai Lama says that everyone, without exception, wants to be happy and avoid suffering. And I think we just often have crazy strategies toward that end, right? The needs are the same, they're universal.
Yeah.
But, our interpretation of what is going to, how I can fill those needs, that's where we can get into trouble.
That's where we get into conflict, exactly. Because we might all have a need for rest, for example. That's a basic human need. We all have a need for rest. And we can choose different ways to do that, right? So, for example, somebody might want to take a nap. That's the way they rest. Someone else might want to listen to music. Someone else might go on a walk. I mean, there's all these different ways, and we get into conflict not because of the needs we have, not because of expressing needs, but the way we go about meeting them. So if I'm with a friend and I want to rest, and this person has a need for adventure, and I say, well, I'm going to go and lay down and listen to some quiet music, and that person says, well, I want to go and hike up a mountain. and we were supposed to spend time together, there can be conflict if we're looking at just the strategies we have. But if we're able to express to each other the needs that we have, I can relate to adventure. I like that at times. And my friend could probably relate to needing rest. And so if we can share from that point of view, then we can hear each other. Lee.
Well, I was thinking when you were saying that, Jacqueline, that in my own life, even to know what my needs are, like to honestly or authentically feel my own needs, that's even a big thing. So we might have a situation, I mean, speaking for myself, that I have needs, but I'm not even aware, I don't even know them. They're subconscious. And so things can be happening when needs aren't being met and I'm reacting or coming from a place, but I don't really know what that place is. It's like subconscious. So part of the work, even in a way, is I'm having this. I have something else to say, but I'll wait till the end because there's something really. It's just precious, and how we apply this and where and all that. I'm going to speak to that in a minute later.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee, for saying that. And yes, I know that when I started this work, I was like, oh, I have needs. Oh, you know, and we're going to explore a little bit that when we get together on Saturdays, of like, what are those needs and what is my belief about needs? I mean, I know for me, it was, you're selfish.
Mm.
No. Or you're needy, you know, those kind of words that come up. So we'll look at that. So I just want to take a few minutes because we're getting close to the end. I want to respect our time frame tonight. I would love, well, if there's any questions, this would be a good time to pose them. If you have any questions, I know some of you have registered for the 4-week Saturday 9:30 to 11:30 class. I don't know if everybody has. Lee, are you coming to that class?
Well, I have a conflict,
Okay.
Jacqueline, because I have something I've been doing for a while from 9 to 10 and another thing from 10 to 11:30. And I just haven't resolved. I don't know. I just think it's not the right time for me.
Okay, that's fine. I thought there were 4 people, so that's why I wasn't quite sure if that was you. But okay, well, if you have any questions, or Lorraine, are you still with us?
She's still with us. She might be muted.
You might.
Oh, I don't see her mute.
Oh.
No.
Sorry, mute. I am listening avidly.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad. Yeah, because we can't see you or hear you. So
Mhm.
just wanted to be sure if you had any questions or, yeah.
Well, I have a comment when there's a room for it.
Okay. Okay. So this was a sort of an introduction to give you a little taste, a little sampler of what NVC is. And I look forward to meeting with those of you who have registered tomorrow. And we'll continue our exploration. And let's see. I guess maybe, Lee, before you share, I'd like to just ask you, this is my request, is as we check out, what needs of yours were met this evening by this time that we shared together? Or not, or what needs of yours were not met?
If I had a need for peace and connection, that first exercise I loved, where when you said what kind of a world would you like to live in, and everyone had the same peace and harmony, and like you dump this fear and viciousness and so forth. And so what is that a need for? That's a need for relief or peace or something, which was I love that. I mean, just to set the tone for, that's how we can get there, is through learning this nonviolent communication.
So my guess is that maybe you also had your need for connection was met, knowing that we
Yes.
all actually hold a lot of these values as very precious.
Yes. Yes. That's it.
Thank you, Kathy. Kelsey, can I throw it your way?
Sure.
Up, you're muted. You were good before.
Okay. I feel like a lot of hope, because it's something that has been stuck inside of me for so long, and I've felt so frustrated, and feeling to be able to be this vulnerable for myself and to actually learn from this place is like I'm just overwhelmed that I'm so grateful that I can, like, it just gives me hope that I can actually learn to do it, and learn to express and feel and ask, and it's so much hope. So I feel good. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelsey. Yeah. So in Kelsey's case, I would say you expressed your need for hope was really met there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Julie, do you want to share?
Sure, I can. I was wondering if the lady that's on the phone, I forgot her name, did she have something? Let's ask her. I'd like to ask her.
Okay. Lorraine, would you like to share?
Sure. So I don't know if I can take the class because life is in a bit of craziness right now. I need to sit down and look at my commitments to know. So I have done both mediation training many years ago and found it super helpful. And one of the things that I remember very well from that was, how can I say things in a way that the other person will hear? Mm-hmm. So I've never forgotten that and try to put that into practice in my life. And I was gonna say, so I taught for a number of years and started off thinking, well, I'll tell them what I think they need to know. And then I found out that they couldn't get it, because in some cases I was talking at too high a level in the subject we were in. So because I believe communication is measured at the point of receipt, I had to make changes to the way I presented my material so that I could speak in a language they could understand. I mean, that was what I felt I needed and wanted to do. So how does that tie into what we're doing? So again, and other people have shared very similar things, trying to find out what my truth is. Mm-hmm. And I totally agree with the person who said it's not so easy to know. Mm-hmm. I think they were using the word needs, but to me, they're pretty much the same thing, what my needs are, what my truth is. It's not always clear. Mm-hmm. And a goodly number of years ago now, I don't know, 15 years ago or so, I did a cassette. Remember cassettes? I did a cassette course on nonviolent communication, and I was so impressed. It was like, oh my gosh. So I made some changes to the way I spoke, not only to other people, but even to myself. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that came out of that work so many years ago was asking myself, when I'm in a situation, so what's really going on here? Mm-hmm. And not even so much with the other person, although that's certainly a component, but what's going on with me? Mm-hmm. And so it has been so long since I did that class that I am actually interested in doing a course again. I don't know if this particular one in the next few Saturdays will work for me, but I feel like, boy, do I need a refresher, especially considering the world we're living in. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that has been, and I hope this, so in my brain, this is actually all coherent, more or less. I have a lot of questions. I don't always have the answers, but this business of mediation because it is about communication. It is actually about connection, even when the relationship between the parties is painful, which is why you're usually in mediation to begin with. If it wasn't painful, you'd be talking to each other without a third-party helper.
Right.
And then
Lorraine,
again,
excuse
yeah.
me, Lorraine, I'm going to interrupt you because we're a little
Sorry.
over the hour, and I want to be sure that everyone gets a chance. But thank you so much for bringing up what you shared right there. And yeah, I hope you get a chance to redo a course, or if you wake up tomorrow morning and feel like you want to join us, then you are more than welcome.
Okay.
Thank you. So Lee and Julie, I'd love to hear from you. We'll let Gloria finish.
Well, I feel like when I look at the needs list, I echo a lot of what Kelsey said. I've got hope that I can bring more peace within myself and with others in learning how to do this process more. And I guess my need is to be inspired, and that's what I know will come from you, because you are so inspiring to me just with whatever subject it is when you teach. So that's what I'm, there's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Julie, for your trust and feedback. Yeah. And I just want to say what Lorraine said about, checking in with herself. I mean, that's really where we start the focus, because, and as Gloria, you were saying, coming from that place of your heart, before we speak to others, we express ourselves, especially when we're in conflict, we want to take the time to check in and see what's going on inside. And that's not always easy to do, but there is a way in. Yeah. So thank you, Julie. So Lee.
Well, I'm, as I speak almost in every group I do, I'm really a big fan of community. And community is a place where we get to actually work together. So we've been talking in the class, like just in the world or in our daily life, on how we express ourselves, and to bring these principles and how effective they can be, and people feel heard and needs are met and that kind of thing. But the way it strikes me is that there's really a lot to learn, and it's helpful if you can work in a class or in a group. So one question I have is, are there like practice groups? But the other thing that came to my mind, because I have a little household here, and I'm inspired to say, to almost create, as I develop this house that I'm in, and to create it as a community, to say one of the parts of living here is we all study and practice NVC, or compassionate communication, together. There'll be YouTubes or classes we'll watch together. We'll put on the wall a list of principles, and we will have reflections and meetings every once in a while where we're actually working together, because that's, I think, that's a real way to learn it. And it's actually like we're living it with the people that can work with us.
Yeah.
I'm inspired. I'm really inspired.
Yeah. So I just put in the chat. Did everybody get that?
Yeah.
The website of the organization I'm part of, and you can look under practice groups, and there are some, of course, they're all virtual right now, but you could look up and see if there's a practice group that you might be interested in. And I also offer a monthly course that Julie's been part of, where we take a theme and we develop it. And so it's sort of like a drop-in class that you can do.
Do you have a website? I apologize for interrupting. Do you have a website, or how would we get
Well,
to
go to that website I gave you.
What?
Did you go on the chat? Do you know how to go on the chat, Lee?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Look at the website of the chat.
Okay.
That's the website. Yeah, I've got a page on there too. Yeah.
I have a page. That's what I meant, to actually connect with you.
Yeah, you can go on my page. You can see under facilitators. Okay. Gloria, would you like to say something?
Just have enjoyed this very much, and I wish I could take the class, but unfortunately I've got to work tomorrow. but it sounds wonderful, and I want to just thank you. I share what Kathy said. I don't remember exactly now, but when she said it, I thought that's exactly how I feel. Just that this time has provided, I think, well, myself for sure, and I suspect everyone, an opportunity to feel connected, especially through that first exercise where, because when I heard everyone was saying the same thing in their own way, and it made me envision what that would be like if the world were that way, in spite of, differences and everything going on. So thank you very much for evoking that.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, and appreciate your being here and all those who attended. And I think there are a few people who we didn't see. They didn't have their video, or perhaps they're planning to watch the recording instead, because there were a few more people signed up. So anyway, all of you, thank you for attending, and thank you very much, Jacqueline, for your wisdom and your wanting to share this practice, which is very important.
Well, you're welcome. Well, thank you all for showing up tonight. And if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me through that website. Go under facilitators and I'll be there. And I look forward to meeting those of you who are showing up tomorrow morning. And just remember, it's a different Zoom link. You all have received it, yeah. So later on, I'll be sending out the packets for tomorrow. So look at them before the class, and if you can, print them out, okay? Okay, well, it's been an honor to be with all of you. Thank you so much. And Gloria, thank you for the work you do.
Likewise, thank you for your very vital work.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank
Really
you.
My heart, Jacqueline.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Have a good day.